Understanding what truly makes a deal work from a money perspective, from an experience perspective, from a hustle perspective, can really make or break the deal.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Freedom Real Estate Podcast. And I swear to God, this is not a Christmas episode. We literally did not coordinate these outfits, but you know what? It worked out.
I don't know about you, Artem, but I literally called you this morning and told you to wear red.
Oh, you gave away a secret. All right, we have a jam-packed episode for you guys tonight. First, I want to start with partnerships. Now, a lot of people will start out doing maybe one or two deals on their own, but then they realize that to grow, you got to have partnerships. But it's usually a very big leap from solo entrepreneur to like 100 units with 50 JVs, et cetera, et cetera. So how can people get started finding maybe their first or second partner?
Absolutely. So one of the easiest ways to find a partner, in my opinion, is to start a local mastermind, right? Start a mastermind in your area of people doing what you want to do. 5, 6 people like-minded, meet weekly, go over goals, keep each other accountable, go over what you plan, what your life is 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 1 year from now, reverse engineer it, and hold each other accountable. And over time, as you mastermind, you see people who actually follow through with their goals. You see people what they're good at versus what they aren't good at. And over time, those are the sort of relationships that develop into a fruitful and successful partnership.
On that note, I would say it's actually very likely that your next partner or your first partner is already amongst you somewhere in your social circle, somewhere in your family maybe. Perhaps it's the rich uncle that has quite a bit of cash but doesn't really want to do the hands-on work for real estate deals. You just have to talk to enough uncles to realize who among them wants a partner. Or maybe it's a friend that you've known from high school and you've gone different paths, and he's now some investment banker that has a lot of cash and doesn't want to necessarily do a lot of the work, but you can bring the work aspect and the deal finding partner on the cash. And perhaps it won't even be the first time. Maybe they have to see you do 1 or 2 or 3 deals on your own before they see, oh, hey, this guy has a track record. For the fourth one, I don't want to miss out on these, real estate gains. I want to partner with him. So definitely explore your immediate social circle first.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to partnerships, typically in a partnership, you bring one of 3 things. You bring time, money, and experience. And, ultimately, if you understand what people bring to the table and you understand what you can bring, it's pretty easy to put the puzzle pieces together to make a deal work for all parties.
Absolutely. On that note, it's actually a little bit of a trap when you find a lot of peers, especially at masterminds or meetups, where you guys might bring the same puzzle piece to the table, maybe not much money, but a lot of hustle, or maybe all of you have a lot of money, but nobody really wants to go and do the deal finding. So it is important to know yourself and to know what you're looking for.
Exactly, because I mastermind and I mentor a lot of people, and I mentor a lot of young hustlers, right? And I got, a room of 10 young hustlers all wanting to partner together, and all of them have the time. They may have the experience, they don't have the money, and they're trying to partner, and it's like putting 2 wrong puzzle pieces together, right? It just doesn't fit, right? So I think understanding what truly makes a deal work from a money perspective, from an experience perspective, from a hustle perspective, can really make or break the deal.
Now, Andrew, if you're looking for partnerships and you maybe have a few people that are good potentials, what do you look for? Like an early sign of success, or maybe some character traits that stand out to you?
Do you do what you say you are going to do? Let me ask you this, Artem. When I tell you I'm going to do something, do I normally do it most of the time?
I'd say you do it pretty much 99% of the time.
Yes, right? And that's the number one trait on whether a partnership could be successful or not. Because ultimately, truly successful partnerships where you have exponential growth, that's when you have a lane that you are exceptionally good at, and your partner has a lane that they're exceptionally good at, and you could trust them to handle their lane. Like, let me just give you a quick example. Like, you ever done a school project, right, Artem?
Absolutely.
And, your group with 3 or 4 people, maybe you don't choose them, right? And you get that one person that doesn't carry their weight, that one person that really doesn't do their piece, right? What do you do in that scenario?
Usually you have to carry the group for them and then begrudgingly think, man, this guy gets a third of my grade even though he didn't do a third of the work.
Exactly.
It's always a problem.
Exactly. And you hinted on the biggest reason why partnerships don't work out, and it's because of resentment, right?
Mm-hmm.
You resent the fact that they're not carrying their weight. You resent the fact that you have to do their pieces of the puzzle, right? And over time, that's how successful partnerships don't work, right? So you really need somebody who can carry their weight, and rather than a feeling of resentment, you're a feeling of teamwork and collaboration. Like that's the type of feeling, that's the type of vibe that can move mountains.
Absolutely. And on that note of following through, it really starts with the little things, maybe before the partnership even forms. For example, a friend of yours might say, hey, can you like go pick up this document for me and bring it over? Very, very simple. Or hey, can you like send me this email at this point in time, or go set up this meeting at this point in time? And you say yes and you don't follow through. You do 3 or 4 of those things. It creates a subconscious mental image of that person that, hey, this guy doesn't really follow through. So when he brings you a deal, maybe it's a good deal, but you just think, I don't know if I want to partner with this guy. I'm not sure why that is. But it's the little steps along the way that accumulated that you didn't follow through on that would kill that potential partnership. Now, Andrew, what are some red flags that might come up once you're already in a partnership that maybe this might not work out?
I think one of the traits that most people discount is whether you and your partner are coachable, right? Like, can you take feedback? Can you incorporate other people's point of view and synthesize the best solution, right? And most people, are really bad at taking feedback. Most people are not coachable, including myself in my 20s. I was extremely uncoachable. But to truly have a successful collaboration, you have to be willing to, understand what you're good at, but also what you're not good at. Because once you understand what you're not good at, that's when you have the ability to leverage your partnerships and your relationships to take what you're not good at, so you can really spend all of your time on what you are good at. And ultimately, that's what's really going to make the business plan shine.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're bringing either outside counsel or maybe one of the partners is much more senior and more experienced, and he says, hey, I've already made this mistake, don't do it this way. There's only so many times that, you're not going to listen to his advice and he's just not going to work with you ever again.
Yeah, I'll just give you a quick example, Artem. Like, I partnered with this young investor, young 20-something-year-old. He got into real estate young, thought he knew it all, right? We bought a 3-unit together. We ended up stabilizing together. Time after time after time, I would offer a solution. He would be resistant to the solution and go with his own. It would end up costing us more and more and more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, he was just sick of it and he wanted to sell it, right? Thankfully, we found a 6-unit right down the road that we 1031 that into, right? After that, he realized, maybe it makes sense to let a proven operator manage the deal. I took a hold of that 6-unit. We ended up doing a full burr on that 6-unit. He didn't lift one finger because he put the trust in somebody who does this day in and day out, time and time and time again.
Mm-hmm. But on that note, I'm assuming after having learned on the first deal, you probably said, hey, I'll only do the second deal with you. You're not touching it.
That's exactly what I said, right? But to that point, the reason why I did the second deal with him is because he brought the hustle. He brought that 6-unit that we got a really good deal on that 6-unit, right? And that's why I wanted to part of him. He brought a really good deal, right? He brought the opportunity and I brought the experience, right? And because we leaned into that experience, we had a way better experience the second go around than the first go around.
Gotcha. Hey, at least you were able to salvage that deal. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. Should get about $200K out of that. I'm excited for that one.
Now, Andrew, let's get down to red flags. At what point would you walk away from a partnership versus trying to salvage it? And at what point would you not give a person another chance to work together?
Artem, I've partnered with many, many, many people, probably 100 at this point, right? And the people that I have the most trouble partnering with are the people who are just too scared to take action, too fearful to really get out of the status quo. Right? Because ultimately, I can show you the path, I can lead the way, but if you don't follow the path, if you fight me along every inch of the road, it makes it very, very challenging for me to even partner with somebody like that, right? So I've ran into that. I ran into people who say they want to get into real estate, but when push comes to shove, and when it's time to cut the check, they run the other way, and no fault of their own, but it simply comes from a place of unknown and a place of fear, right?
Absolutely.
And we all have that. I had to I had that myself that I had to get over to become an investor, to leave my full-time W-2 job, to become a full-time entrepreneur. That wasn't easy. That was really fearful for me. But I learned how to live in the fear versus running from the fear.
Hmm. Absolutely. And that even goes into diving into some of your first deals. I know just from my own personal examples, I found two really good flip opportunities. And I had a friend that was really interested in my real estate journey. He said, "Oh, I'd like to partner on that." I said, "All right, well, here you go. Here's the numbers. Here's what we put down. Here's how much we make." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm not sure. Or I ran my numbers are more conservative and I don't think it's going to make money, this and this." So he passed on it. I went to somebody else. I got it done. Cool, next deal. And he saw how much money I made. He's like, "Oh man, I really missed out, didn't I?" Yeah. Second deal comes along. I bring to this guy. He's excited. He wants to partner with me. Same thing. Right at the last minute, he can't pull the trigger. He gets nervous, passes on the deal. I bring it to my previous partner. We get it done. A year later, he sees me making like what, 1,000 or 1,200 more per month in passive income from both of these deals, and he's still in the same exact place 1 year later. And what do you have to be afraid of? You have mentors around you. You have people that will basically grab your hand and prevent you from really screwing up big. You just got to take that leap.
People fail to forget that the status quo is decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing nothing is the decision that what is happening right now will be the future, right? And,
Comfort.
yeah, comfort, right? And ultimately, I'm always looking for a better future. I'm always looking for a way to be better. And if the future that you're hoping for requires something different than the status quo, then ultimately you have to make a change.
Mm-hmm. There's a saying, extreme results require extreme actions. And sometimes you have to change the person that you are in order to become that deserves the kind of results that you want. Simple as that.
Totally. That's why I'm a big believer. This life is a video game. Create the avatar you want.
Break out of the matrix.
Absolutely.
Now, Andrew, I know you're a big real estate mogul, but not everything you touch turns to gold, does it? You must have one or two mistakes in your past. Why don't you share one of those?
So let me get this straight, Artem. You're going to ask a man to pull down his pants. You're not going to even pull it down yourself? Well, let's hear your deal, and then I'll do mine.
All right, let's do it.
Let's hear what's the worst deal that you've done that makes your skin crawl to this day?
I would say it wasn't even a deal. It was a $7,000 mistake that I'm still embarrassed to think about. So I sent out a batch of mailers and I got a response that was very promising. It was from this older gentleman who was out of state and he wanted to sell off a couple of condos in the Massachusetts area.
Okay.
First deal went great. Cash close. I partnered with my agent. We flipped it. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Second deal he was a little bit hesitant on. But I thought, well, I mean, hey, I already done a deal with this guy once. He's a good guy. I trust him. Everything looks good. The numbers look good. Only issue is that this condo actually has a tenant in it. Well, I've done an eviction with Andrew on another deal separately. So I thought, okay, I can handle an eviction. And this guy seems very willing to work with me. Maybe I can get him out without evictions. Maybe I can give him cash for keys, or maybe I can try some other strategies. So I got into an agreement with the seller with specifically the contingency that the tenant stays, or at least the owner does not have to do anything to get him out. And I gave myself a very long closing window. I gave myself 90 days, feeling very confident that in 90 days I can get this guy out. And against my better judgment, not only the first red flag is don't ever accept a place with a bad tenant. I normally put down $1,000 or $2,000 as towards the purchase and sale while I get it under agreement. This guy pushed for $7,000, which was basically almost the down payment for this place. And again, didn't really have the best feeling about it, but I was confident that, hey, I'll get the tenant out, I'll make this deal close, everything will happen smoothly. Well, after every single thing that I tried, after dealing with the tenant, the city, and an eviction attorney, I came to the realization that the guy really pretty much kind of said what I wanted to hear maybe in the beginning, but really had no intention of moving out. And by the time the closing date came, I couldn't even get a hard money loan for this place because the holding costs wouldn't support it given this guy's low rents. So I had to walk away from the deal and lose my deposit of $7,000 on a very expensive lesson. So I'm still embarrassed to admit that story, but good lessons for me. Never, ever again accept a deposit that big, and never, ever take a troubled tenant without some kind of contingency or being able to walk away.
Mm, that one stings.
That one
Ooh,
stings.
ouch.
Beginner
Well,
mistakes.
hey, now that you were an honest enough man to show me your trousers, I'll show you mine.
Let's do
All
it.
right. So my deal was this duplex in Killingly, Connecticut.
Oh, man.
I bought this duplex. We bought this thing. It was a flooded property. The previous owner, it flooded out. The owner filed an insurance claim, took the money, sold the property to us, right? So this was a duplex. Our original scope going into was $80,000. We were going to renovate this duplex. I think we were going to sell it for $330, $340. We bought it for, I think, $160.
The market was on the up and up. There was
Yeah.
no way we could have lost money.
Yeah, so we bought it for $160, put $80 into it, sell for $330, right? Bada bing, bada boom, right? In the process of putting it together, we realized, oh crap, there's all these scope creeps, right? We ended up having to put $120,000 into it because of the scope creeps. We ended up having to change it from a duplex to a single family because the renovation budget was going through the roof. But we thought we could get a better price for that. So we ended up putting 120 in versus 80. And then we ended up putting it on the market. You put it on the market for 400. We put a little high, right? We ended up getting a offer for 380. I think within the first week, right?
Not so bad.
Yeah, not so bad, right? Except we got greedy, right? We're like, oh, it's worth 400. All the comps say 400. That buyer ended up getting on the property in the contract. The thing sat for 3 months. We ended up selling it for 350. I think we ended up probably losing $20,000-$30,000 on it, right? So
Not to mention the holding cost.
the holding costs, I think we hold it for over a year, right? And we had to pay transaction costs on the buy and the sell, right? Like after everything was said and done, like we probably put hours and hours and hours and hours in working into this deal just to pay them 20 to 30 grand, right? So, ultimately not all deals work out. That deal probably was our mistake. We valued the renovation incorrectly. We valued the ARV incorrectly. And the holding cost just ate us alive, right? Thankfully, it was a small deal. Thankfully, it was a very small purchase price, You win some, you lose some. I mean, that's just a part of investing. But nonetheless, it definitely stung.
I would add to that one more thing, which is it was a little bit out of our market. I mean, we usually specialize just around Massachusetts, specifically the Worcester area. This was Killingly, Connecticut. Now, we had people on the ground that we trusted, but this is not really our playground, right?
Absolutely.
So definitely do your due diligence, especially if it's a new area. But I will say this, Andrew, I believe that was our first flip. And a lot of people, after having a bad experience like that, might just walk away and never do another flip again. But we ended up doing 6 more after that. So congrats to you for having thick skin and not letting one bad deal sour your experience, because the next 6 went on to make us good money.
It's true, I did buy all the sick at the same time, But still, nobody needs to mention that.
That's right. All right, that's been another episode of the Freedom Real Estate Podcast. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you next week with your boy, Andrew and Artem. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Sayonara.